You know what I found really interesting today as I was working on a riding mower? I was thinking about the what is the purpose of the cylinder head. The reason why I asked that way is because that's one of the questions that the students had to answer on the state test. And so I was just trying to think of how I could produce that into a lab assignment. And it's really interesting because the cylinder head has such an amazing job it does. It's bolted down to the engine block and it holds the valves. Some it holds the the camshafts. It holds the rockers. It depends on the design, but one thing for sure on the cylinder head, it definitely does. It acts as a cap for the combustion. Now think about that. That is explosions happening. Explosions happening in the cylinder, and the cylinder head caps that. And that's a lot of pressure. You got to think about this. We have head bolts on there, and they're very important because if you just bolt down one head bolt and put it, all the pressure on that one, it's going to crack. And it's not because of one giant explosion, but because of all the little explosions that build it. Because that's what will cause you to have a warped head. The gaskets will fail, and then the head will crack. And so you have to tighten each of the head bolts to a certain torque specification, and a certain pattern too, so that it can handle all the pressure that it is given. Because men don't crack because life gets hard. Men crack when we carry all the pressure of life in one place, like the one bolt. So think about that. The torque pattern of our lives isn't going to make one bolt stronger. It doesn't, it's about spreading out the load. You don't put all your pressure on one bolt. You don't put all your pressure on mom. You don't put all your pressure on dad. You don't put all your pressure on one child. You don't put all the pressure on one hobby or one paycheck. You have to spread it out so that you can survive. Because that's how an engine survives, is by having those multiple head bolts torqued down. And you know what? That can bring another thought. Maybe this is why God never meant us to walk alone, so that we can share our pressure with our helpmate, our partner, and with Him. You're not alone. God loves you. I love you. And until we ride again, thank you.